This really is the end of the world.
The end of the world we understand, yeah. We're going back to something that's a lot more similar to the world as it existed in the early 1900s.
Whew. But how does China come through this, though?
They don't.
So what happens to them if they don't?
Well, I mean, this is one of the wild things, and the hard parts of my job is we have never faced a demographic collapse that wasn't caused by war. The closest would be the Black Plague. But the Chinese are going to lose a greater percentage of their population in the next 20 years than Europe did during the Black Plague.
And you think by famine?
This assumes no famine. This is just aging.
Just aging.
Yeah, if you have an energy breakdown or a food breakdown, it happens a lot faster.
And they have energy issues and they have food issues.
They are the world's largest importer of energy, about 14 million barrels a day. Remember, we're a net exporter. And they are the world's largest importer of food and food inputs.
And are we the only major superpower that can generate its own natural resources in terms of natural gas, shale oil?
We're the only ones who can do it at scale. I would argue that Argentina can do a pretty good job of it by Argentine standards.
So we're fairly safe in that regard?
Yeah. I mean, we'll always find things to stress about. I don't mean to suggest that the next 5 years are just going to be a picnic. We're going to have to double the size of the industrial plant as the Chinese system and the German system both fall offline. But that's an opportunity. You double the size of the industrial plant. Obviously, that's inflationary. But at the other side, you're building things at home using local resources and local workers. You're using less energy and less water. It's cleaner. You're selling to locals, and your supply chains are simpler and safer and shorter, and you're largely become immune to shocks beyond the horizon. This is a good challenge. It won't be easy, but to be perfectly blunt, we've done it before. We can do it again.
Well, one of the things that came up during COVID was our understanding, for the first time, of the supply chain and what happens when it gets cut off. And when medicine, so much medicine is produced in China, so many computer chips, so many different things are made over there, that there's been a real conversation about the need to have all that stuff here and for the United States to be self-sustaining.
With the inflation, I mean, I don't want to come across as a partisan here, but the Inflation Reduction Act, while from an inflation point of view, is ridiculous. There's nothing about that addresses inflation. It did put together a nationalist economic policy that we probably did need in terms of pushing the reindustrialization on some specific sectors. It'll probably be the first of a series of things that are coming. And a lot of this stuff is not particularly complicated. So take the medication issue. It's 1950s technology for the most part. The medicines that we import from China and India are not the biologics or the cutting edge stuff or the cancer drugs. They're the day-to-day maintenance things that a lot of us use. And it is not particularly expensive or time-consuming to build out the capacity here. It's basic chemistry. But there has not been an economic incentive to do it yet. So you get one act of Congress and splash a little cash on it, and it might cost us 8 cents for a pill instead of 4 cents. But, we can argue whether or not that is worth the price. You get into more sophisticated manufacturing, and it kind of does this weird split. So the United States is a world leader at the very high end, whether it's semiconductors or vehicles or machinery or software. But we're also a world leader on the low end if it's input intensive, so energy products and food products, fuel, processed foods. Our problem is in the middle, places where it's not the natural bounty of North America that helps us out, and it's not the ingenuity and the skill of the American workforce that helps us out. The stuff in the middle. To be perfectly blunt, for that, we've got Mexico, and they're great at it. The American-Mexican trade relationship is already the largest in the world, and they're going to be our largest trading partner moving forward for at least the next 30 years, probably a lot more. Are there hiccups? Oh, yeah.